Frame skip.
It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of Frame Skip, your weekly podcast where we sometimes cannot hold it together in this intro. I am Austin Eller, and I am joined by George, Solid Snake himself, Loftus. How's it going, George?
It's me. I've never played a Metal Gear. I played 20 minutes of Twin Snakes.
I'm also joined by, I don't know, Liquid Snake himself, Elijah Steele. How's it going, Elijah?
I don't know how to do a Liquid Snake voice. I haven't played Metal Gear Solid in how long?
Okay, you're also Solid Snake then. Solid Snake dose, Elijah Steele.
Now that I can do.
Sorry, Revolver Ocelot's the old man with the mustache, right?
Yes.
That's like half of Metal Gear Solid,
And the long hair.
That is true.
I love like Japan's idea of a bad American where it's like a guy who's like kind of bald in the front and then has like a super long mullet of white wispy hair and then just like a matching mustache. And you're just like, yeah, so this is what a bad guy looks like. I'm like, okay, if you sure, yeah, if you say so.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I see it.
Also, it looks like he could be a janitor, but yeah, sure. Why not?
I still think the best Metal Gear Solid villain, or Metal Gear villain rather, is I forget his first name, but Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising, because he just has the most ridiculous lines possible. He's like a senator or something.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, and he's a meme now. Yeah. And there were a lot of quotes from him that like came up during the 2020 election, and how it was like a commentary on it, and just look up Senator Armstrong quotes from Metal Gear Rising, and you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But
that's hilarious.
Terrific.
So George, Elijah, how's it going, guys? Last week we got scared, now we're back, and maybe you guys listening to this are scared after that horrendous 2.5 minutes that you just listened to, but we're back at it.
Look, all I have to say is you started the intro, and then I noticed we were recording for much longer than I thought. And you know what? I'm not sorry.
Yeah, we got it on tape, man. I hope you're not running for comptroller of your local district, because you ain't getting that.
You know what? Maybe I'll run for senator. And as we just figured out, senators can get away with a lot.
Yeah,
That's
Senator
true.
Elijah Strong. Yeah,
That's true.
I like that.
That sounds like Elijah's like arch nemesis.
It does.
Elijah Strong.
No, just presume that I'm Elijah Weak.
So I want to kick us off here with our games we've been playing, because I know we've got a lot to talk about this week, and specifically when I say a lot, I mean you guys, because I have not really played much. But George, I know you have played every game in existence over the past week, so I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about
past
all
couple
those
weeks.
games.
Yeah, as I told Elijah last week on the podcast, I platinumed 5 games in October. And I'm happy to report I platinumed the Saboteur, despite a crash game eating some of my save. I didn't have to redo that much. But man, that game is really cool, but it also comes down to like getting the platinum, where it's like there's all this Nazi equipment all over the map. And like it really felt like, you know how like in Mario Sunshine where like you just had to like squirt away all the ink? You had to blast it all away just to like clean up the city. It felt like that, where it really was like it came down to me just like going back through the entirety of Paris and the countryside and just blowing up every piece of Nazi equipment, being like, you guys were never here. You were never, ever here. So that was therapeutic, but it was also time consuming. Besides that, though, I got the platinum in We Were Here Too, which is a game series that I've talked about before, where it's like the cooperative sort of escape room.
Oh, yeah.
This game, I don't think is actually as good as the first one. However, they are often bundled together. If you have a buddy that you haven't talked to in a while and you both happen to have PlayStations or Xboxes or whatever, cannot recommend this game series enough. It is nice just to like work through problems together and try to problem solve. Like I just think it's like such a blast and like such a good way to like hang out with a buddy. After that, I played a game called Metagal, which is a Mega Man clone. I don't think it's as good as Mega Man. It's just not as tight or like precise as Mega Man. However, the soundtrack is incredible in that game. Good stuff. So I recommend listening to that if you find some time on your hands. 36 Fragments of Midnight, which is a platformer. Really pretty good music in that game too. Super simple game, easy platinum. I feel kind of bad about getting platinums in those two games. However, they were on sale for like 99 cents, and I just,
I
went
have
for it.
the platinum in. I know I have 39 Fragments of Midnight. I know I have it on the PS4, and I need like 1 or 2 trophies on the Vita version. And I think I might own Metagal, and I'm just waiting for a time to get the trophies.
You can get it in less than an hour. You're better at video games than I am. You'll be fine. It took me like a week because I got so frustrated. I had to like beat a boss, and I like just didn't understand how to do it.
I should say I'm waiting for the right time because I want to do like a day or something and just see how many trophies I can get in a day and just get a whole bunch of those like cheapo games.
Love it. Absolutely love it. The big game that I've played. Yeah, I've played some other games. I don't know how much I want to talk about. The big game I played, I can't wait to talk about. Guardians of the Galaxy. You guys, this game is incredible. When this game was announced, I was not excited because I was like, oh, so it's going to be like a bad Gears of War. It turns out it's actually just the best Final Fantasy game that's ever come out. It plays exactly like Final Fantasy 15.
Interesting. I've heard super good things about it, and I really want to play it.
It's really funny. I'm not going to spoil too much about the story. It almost feels Uncharted-esque, where like the gameplay goes on a little too long and it like messes with the pacing, and like the cutscenes are like incredible. And so it's like, oh, this would be a kick-ass Guardians movie. But the gameplay, I'm like, oh, you can't have a 20-hour long movie, a 15-hour long movie. I've been playing like a chapter or two a night. Incredible stuff. And it does one of my favorite things too. Speaking of Uncharted, I always thought it was weird in Uncharted how you'd be in like a firefight against, like weird terrorists or whatever, blowing up like a Himalayan village. And then you'd like, explore a bombed out house to find, a treasure or something in there. When you do that, when you look for collectibles off like the main path, the characters comment, they're like, dude, are we supposed to wait for you all day? This is ridiculous. What are you doing over there? You calling your girlfriend? Like they just like find dumb things to say.
That's pretty great.
And so like that's really cool. But like it is a nerdy ass game. Like it makes so many references not to the MCU, but just to like the actual Marvel universe, to the point where like they talk about Shi'ar diplomats, from like X-Men or whatever. And they talk about all these characters that like fought like the Avengers and whatnot. They're like, the Avengers, who the hell are the Avengers? But like Wendell Vaughn is in this game, who plays Quasar. Like his name is mentioned in this game. And like Nova, like Richard Rider is like mentioned in this game. It's just like really cool stuff. I'm like, oh, this is a Marvel game. This is not a Guardians of the Galaxy game. It's really, really great.
That's neat.
I've heard so many good things about this game, and I was a little shocked, to be honest, because I know when they announced it at E3, I was glad that it was a single player game, but I have to be honest, like looking at the gameplay, I was never too enthused by the way the game looked to play. But my understanding is, aside from the narrative, like it still does play pretty well and is very like addicting and enjoyable. So it's I was pleasantly surprised to hear all the positive feedback, and really cannot wait to pick it up at some point.
It really is interesting because it looks like a third person shooter, but I wouldn't really call it a third person shooter, because like you have to be strategic about when your teammates like use their powers. Like it's not about killing enemies, it's about staggering enemies so you can like deal a whole bunch of damage to them. Like it feels like even small encounters feel like a somewhat bigger boss fight, like in Final Fantasy 15. When you're driving at night in Final Fantasy 15 and those weird demons just like pop out of the road.
Yeah.
Like even some of the basic enemies feel like that, where like you do need to think things out, and it could be a little smoother. I still have issues sometimes when I'm like issuing commands to my teammates, where it just like, I wish time slowed a little bit more for me to like be strategic. Like the amount of times I've like told the wrong character to do the wrong thing because like I was running out of time and like trying to avoid getting hit because it just like switched back into real time, more than I'd care to admit. But man, besides that, just fantastic game. I assume this one's going to go on sale for Black Friday. I cannot recommend this enough. I think this game is worth it. I got it for I think $60 or $50 at Walmart. I think this game is absolutely going to be worth whatever it is at Black Friday.
Yeah, it is. It's something I was curious about to begin with, and then hearing how good it is, how many people I know are just absolutely loving this game. Like, not even just enjoying it, but loving it. Like, all right, that it already had me to begin with, and now it's kind of a must play for me.
I'm a little more than halfway through the story. It is already a serious contender for my game of the year.
I've heard a few people mention that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've heard several people make the comment that they feel like these characters like completely surpass the MCU Guardians of the Galaxy. Their representation of the Guardians, and just kind of awesome to hear that feedback. And because like you said, George, I mean, this isn't the MCU. This is a Marvel game, and so it's really neat to hear that they portray their personalities in such a way that people are really connecting with them. I really liked what Telltale did with that. I know a lot of people weren't too enthused by
Right.
Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy game, but I actually really enjoyed that game because of the way their personalities were portrayed. And so it sounds like this game kind of takes it to the next level. And like you said, I definitely will be grabbing it, hopefully on sale on Black Friday, and we'll be curious to see where it ends up on people's Game of the Year lists.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Besides that, I caved. I got the expansion pack for Nintendo Online. I stopped playing Mario 64 as part of like the 3D All Stars collection because I'm like, oh man, this is great, but I just wish I could play with an N64 controller. And I managed to snag one of the N64 controllers before they went out of stock. Man, that is not why I didn't enjoy playing that game. Turns out the N64 controller it's just so much better in memory than it is in actual execution. I spent so many tries trying to do like in Super Mario 64, like the flying level, where it's like high above the tower in the sky or whatever that is,
right?
Where you have to fly and collect like the 8 red coins. Man, that is just a pain in the ass. And like, I love the nostalgia of holding the Nintendo 64 controller, but like, man, it's not great.
It's a rough controller. I mean, like you said, I think people look back on it like so in such a positive light, but I don't know, just thinking about like the way you hold it and the button placements and stuff, it's just even thinking about it in my mind makes me kind of feel like it's just such a complicated control scheme.
Yeah, and it makes sense, like design wise, right? Because it's like, we think 3D is going to be big, we don't know, so let's build in a 2D controller too,
Right.
and give people the option. So like, it makes sense. It's just like the analog stick itself is like a little rough. Like that's been like my main complaint. And then like using the C buttons as like the camera, I'm like, oh yeah, this was just a total pain in the ass that I completely forgot about. I don't know. I'm sure I will warm up to it more as I get used to doing this thing that I haven't done in 25 years. I was 6 years old when the N64 came out. I was probably like 8 years old when I finally got like my own. Didn't have to play it at friends' houses. So young me was just owned by this 3-pronged nightmare that Nintendo dreamt up. And so I'm sure I'll sneak back into the right rhythm for it. But man, right now I'm just like, oh no, like maybe we should have left this in the 90s.
Awesome. Well, is that it for you, George?
That's all I got.
Elijah, what about you?
So I have 2 like games I haven't put a whole lot of time into yet that I have played through the first chapter of Corpse Party. Yeah, George thought we wouldn't hear more about this, but I love this game. It is very, it was a PSP game that is brought back with like HD visuals and such, but it still retains that classic style. It's super creepy. I don't know, like I vaguely know the story because I've played the sequel, but I don't know the whole thing, and I'm enjoying playing through it, learning all about the Sachiko Ever After spell and it taking them to this elementary school where people died. The other game I've only played a little bit of so far, but it's the game I'm mainlining now that I beat the next game I'll talk about. I've started Voice of Cards: The Isle Dragon Roars.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which, if for those who don't remember, it's that Square Enix RPG that's played out entirely in cards from Yoko Taro. And I'm really liking it. It is an RPG. But basically, you are what looks almost like a bishop from a chessboard. Looks very similar. And it has you like walking through town, and the town is all cards. And once you get out of town and you're in like the wild, you can only see like 3 cards in any direction. So it's just the cards flipped over, and then you walk a step, and then the next cards around you will flip, and then you walk and you do that to reveal what might be chests, or there's something over here, so I can choose to go over there and find out. Encounters are random encounters. And the battle system is played out where, think of like any RPG. The characters have these main attacks, which are just like cards next to the character card that you can choose. And every time you do something, even if it's just pass or whatever, you get a gem that goes in like to a little lockbox. It's just the battle setup is neat because it looks like you're on a table playing cards. And there's a little lockbox and you see a gem fall into it. And then some of your like more powerful attacks might require a gem or 2 or 3 gems or whatever. It is an RPG. It is an RPG-ass RPG, but it's cards, and it's really cool.
It's a card PG. Gotcha.
Exactly. That's literally what I've been calling it. A card PG. And it's all played out through the voice of one narrator who like will be reading the cards, and it'll come up on a card on the screen. "Be gone from this kingdom," says the king to our adventurers. But you'll hear that narrator, "Be gone from the kingdom," says the king to our adventurers. And like that's how the entire game is played out, and it works so much more than I thought it would. It is so charming. And that's the best word I can give for it. Charming. That's what it is. But I'm having a good time with it so far. Like, I've only played maybe an hour, but I hear it's like 15-ish hours to beat.
That's not too bad.
No, it's not too short, but it also doesn't overstay its welcome. But the real game I've put time into also was around 14, 15 hours to beat. Again, perfect length. And that's Fatal Frame: Maiden of Blackwater.
Yeah.
I played it back on the Wii U for, I want to say I played like 4 drops, and each level is called a drop instead of a level. And I think I played like 4 of them back on the Wii U, and it has 14. This game has problems, especially in like controls and such. But I fell so in love with this series through this game. I am ready to go back and spend the $200 to get Fatal Frame 1 through 3 on PS2 or Xbox. I think I want to get the Xbox version, so it would be a little more. But like the Xbox versions have added content that the games ended up coming to, and I'm into this series so much, I might see about modding or getting a European Wii, because they remade Fatal Frame 1 and 2 for the Wii.
Oh, that's
with
interesting.
Yes, with like some added content and stuff, and just newer, better looking, better control, stuff like that. And I am legitimately thinking of importing, modding, whatever, and importing those Wii versions of Project
It's
Zero.
only in Europe?
Yes.
That's surprising.
I think Europe and Japan.
Yeah, because I know Fatal Frame 4 was Japanese only, and I actually do have that game. And if you mod a Wii, you can actually install an English patch onto the game and play it.
Which is exactly what I'm going to do. I wanted to do it beforehand, but now after playing this game, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Like I said, I am ready to go back and spend the money to get the old Fatal Frame games and play them.
Yeah.
You should mod a Wii, because I just bought an original Xbox with like a custom case on it so I could mod it. And I'm gonna like run like emulators on it, but like it's strictly to back up my disc games because I'm very worried about disc rot.
That's fair, yeah.
So yeah, let's do it. Let's become the mod bros, man. Let's do it.
I'm in. I have 3 Wiis, so I'm down.
Okay, let's do it. I have a soldering kit that I'm terrified to use just because I don't want to mess anything up.
But no, like I have completely fallen in love with this series based on this game, and I am so in to play the rest of them. I'm next payday, I think I might order that Spirit Camera game for 3DS, just because it's cheap-ish right now. It's like $40 to get complete, something like that.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So it's really good.
I'm just gonna get it now. I hear it's not great, but whatever. It's part of this series. I'm all in. I've taken so many screenshots and used the photo mode is the word I was looking for, but couldn't think of. And they said there was an interview with the creator that at the time there's no plans to bring like the old ones out in any like port fashion or anything like that, but it is being discussed because the reaction to this game is so much more than they ever expected that it's now on the table as a possibility. Hence the reason I bought 3 copies of this game for other people. So I'm like,
Nice.
yo, Frank, you had a birthday recently. So do you want a copy of Fatal Frame? And I know someone else, they're like, man, I really want this game, but I'll have to wait till like next month or the month after that to get it. I'm like, how about you get it today? Because I love this game. I love this series now. And it's all based on this game. Granted, it's the only game in the series I've played, but all based on this one, I'm completely in.
This is the equivalent of you like marrying the first person you kiss, and it's really sweet to see from the outside.
Come here, George.
Finally, he noticed me.
But no, I had such a blast. I played through it. I need to play the special level that's added, where in classic Tecmo Koei fashion,
Tecmo.
Koei Tecmo words. In classic fashion, there's an added level where you play as a Yane from Dead or Alive.
Of course.
Yeah, because they do that in like every one of their games. But no, I highly recommend it. Some of the problems I have had are some things it doesn't give you the clearest description of what this mechanic is. For example, the one trophy is to defeat 30 enemies while tainted, which I thought that just meant being completely soaked in the like black water.
Yeah, that's what most taints are, yeah.
But apparently not. Apparently there's some way to get it so like the water, like basically the evil is into you and it starts draining your health gauge.
Uh-huh.
But I have no idea how to get that to happen. And this game is so not popular that I literally can't find on the internet a description of it. Like, the entire internet I have searched and can't find the description of what this means.
You gotta Google Translate, man. Use some Babelfish. Reach out to a dev. I think this would be incredible if you actually like the journey you go on to get this trophy. I support this entirely.
That is honestly one of the main things that's holding me back. Where I'm like, maybe I'll go back and trying it, because the rest of the trophies are basically just going to be like going through checklisting. Like, oh, I don't have these. All right, they're in these levels. I'll grab them, and just saving up points and completely upgrading the camera obscura for each character and stuff.
Actually, no, you know what you do? You go on psnprofiles.com and you look at who's been playing it recently and who's gotten that trophy recently.
Oh.
And then you reach out to them.
Oh, good point. The reason I'm curious, I'm literally on it right now, and there are 4 achievers.
Oh, wow. That's really low.
Out of 535 game owners. There are 4 achievers, 3 with a platinum.
Wow. That's extraordinarily low.
That's a very good idea, George, and I'll have to do that. But no, like I absolutely love the game. Like I love the game.
That's awesome. That's a series I've always wanted to get into. I have 1 and 2 on PS4, the PS2
PS3.
versions. Is it PS3? Oh yeah, you're right. PS3.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because
PS3.
I could just play them on PS3, but you know me
Yeah.
well enough.
Yeah. So I maybe one day I'll hook mine back up, and like I said, I do have the Japanese copy of 4. So one of these days I'll try and get into that series. But awesome though. I mean, as for me, I really haven't been playing too much. I've been actually kind of hooked on Animal Crossing because
Oh, welcome back, buddy.
yeah, with the new update coming out on Friday, I really dove back into it, and it's honestly been a perfect game for me right now. Honestly, I can't even remember the game I beat last. I guess it was probably Deathloop, and just kind of going into something that is unbeatable and something kind of just free flowing and a game I can pick up whenever. It's been nice to dive back into it, and I think I'm like at over 100 hours now, which is surprisingly not that much for that game considering how long it's been out. I think Andy's at like almost 600 hours. So
Nerd alert.
but I love that game, and it's a blast getting back into it. So I'm enjoying that. And then just briefly, I did want to mention, you talked about it a little bit, George, but I did play a little bit of the Switch Online expansion, the N64 stuff, and not too much, but I played some of Star Fox 64 and then Mario Kart 64. And honestly, I haven't tried Ocarina of Time yet. I know that's the game that everyone's complaining about right now in that collection, but I mean, I really have not had any issues with Star Fox or with Mario Kart, at least. And I know the hot topic is to like bash on the expansion, and to be fair, again, I haven't played too much yet, but I really have no complaints at the moment, aside from just the way that it works. Like, I still wish I could buy tons of N64 games, but
it's just so unclear to me. Like I bought it today. I caved and did it. And like it wasn't $49.99 for me, it was $43.99 for me, and I think that's because of like the amount of time I have left on my current Nintendo Online. It's like, all right, that would have been cool to like see that anywhere besides like on the final checkout screen. And like it's really frustrating with Ocarina of Time because it's like there's a better version of that game out there, and like you're just never gonna make that game available ever again, like the 3DS upgrade, And so it's like, why are we playing this? Why isn't this working right? Also, you have like such a history, people are obsessed with your old games. Why isn't the emulator better? Like, why didn't you like build the Switch to be able to run old games because you knew you were going to do this eventually? It's just like so many questions for Nintendo.
Why are their own emulators on older consoles better?
Yeah, that's great.
It's not like this is new to them. They've emulated literally these games before.
Yeah.
No, and I mean they have a weird track record with emulators. It's very strange because like the Wii U N64 emulator was hot trash. Like people complaining about the current emulator situation have not played N64 games on the Wii U because it was abysmal. Like all the games were dark and didn't run properly and had horrible lag.
See, the only game I really played N64 on my Wii U was F-Zero, and I just thought that was like what the game was.
Yeah,
like, I just thought it was dark and dingy.
Yeah, I mean, I still think this emulator has issues and they need to fix it. My point being though is the Wii N64 emulator was flawless. Like, I mean, it was perfect, and they're still, 15 years later almost, it's like they can't figure out how to get back to that, and it's very just weird to me that they, they're literally the company that made the system and they can't figure out how to emulate properly. I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully they fix the issues. But again, I mean, so far from what I have played, at least I really don't have any complaints. But I'm sure if I played Ocarina, though, I'd probably have a few things to say. And like you said, George, I mean, the truth of the situation is I'd kind of rather play Ocarina 3D and Majora 3D than play the original versions at this point because they're so good and they're huge upgrades. So,
question though, with the amount of like old Star Wars games we've had released on modern consoles, do you guys think there's even a shred of possibility that we'll get Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron to
Unfortunately, I seriously doubt it.
Well, I like maybe not through like the Nintendo Online service, but like re-released, I guess, on the consoles.
man,
I'm hoping.
I hope we at least get Rogue Squadron, because I feel like if we can get Racer and even Knights of the Old Republic coming out now.
See,
I mean,
Rogue Squadron is the one I feel like there's less of a chance of, just because like Nintendo continued to have those games made through the GameCube. So
that's
like
true.
it wasn't like a one and done like Racer, Republic Commando, stuff like that.
Hey man, there is a PlayStation 2 sequel to Racer.
That's true. But I think that actually helps Racer's credit. That Racer itself came out on N64 and Dreamcast. It wasn't
Gotcha.
a like Nintendo based game where like these other games released strictly on Nintendo.
That is a good point.
Ah, damn it! You and your logic. I just want to play these games again because like I know Rogue Squadron is available through goodoldgames.com, but I also know it like runs like butt.
Yeah,
It is
So
not
I'm like,
good.
I'm like, what if we just made the game that ran fine on 25-year-old hardware? Like, what if we just figured that out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the
I'm
PC version
optimistic,
is
I'm
still
hopeful.
like screwed. Like I don't think it runs properly at all still, which is like weird that they never fixed that. So
yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
anyway,
Dope.
that's all I've been playing though. Holding out on Animal Crossing until Friday, when Forza Horizon 5 releases, which is by far my most anticipated
buddy.
game of the year. Can't wait for that one.
I
So
will be a few weeks behind you. I get my Series X, I believe, on the 20th of November.
it is still on Xbox One though, George.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm not playing on the ass backwards piece of crap platform.
Honestly, that's fair.
speaking of Xbox Series X, I want to take us into a topic that is pretty timely. It's now been, today we're recording on November 2nd, but of course when you guys hear this it'll be, November 5th or later. And with that, we are approaching the first anniversary, 1 year of Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to just kind of reminisce on what we've experienced so far this past year, where we're at as far as thoughts on the two systems, or I guess really the four systems, because there's the digital PS5 as well, and like I said, the X and the S. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to see where we were at and get our thoughts on where we hope next gen will, or current gen will go moving forward. So Elijah, I mean, what do you think about where we're at right now, both with Series X and S and PS5?
I think it's kind of an in between. Like, I don't want to say, man, the consoles are really thriving and it's everything everybody wanted from them and stuff like that. But also, I don't think it's been bleak or anything, because right now, more than I need these consoles for these new exclusives, they are a very, very good what's the word I'm looking for? Like, more of a there is a certain word I'm looking for where, like, not posh, but
Niche?
not even niche, but like more of a they're expensive. They aren't.
Oh, like
But
a luxury.
yes, thank you. They are
Yeah.
a luxury that they aren't needed, but as someone who uses his PS5 every day, I can see the difference than if I were playing on PS4. So, while a lot of the games I've played, I mean, the difference between looking at Fatal Frame, there's a PS4 and a PS5 version. The biggest difference, I think, is just that, and I can't say for sure, but like the PS5 one has DualSense support. And I think that's it. But at the same time, I guarantee you that game runs smoother and loads quicker. So I don't need a PS5. Granted, I've played some PS5 exclusives that are fantastic, but I don't need a PS5. But for everything I do play, I do see a difference that the PS5 is making. So it's not like there's no difference between before I upgraded. So it's not bleak. It's not like, oh, there was no reason for these consoles to come out. But also, it's not like you're missing out on a ton of stuff by not having these new consoles. Sure, there are some great exclusives, but there are a ton of other amazing games out to play.
Right. George, what about you? Where are you at? I know you don't have a Series X yet technically, but you do have a PS5.
You know, they say a Series X in the cart is worth 2 in the hand. I don't know. I lost it.
That was awful.
That was me rewinding to go back before I said something so stupid. I love my PS5. I love it especially because, like Elijah was alluding to, like I was rocking like a launch PS4 before this, and that was just chug city. Anytime I loaded up a game, anytime I wanted to like stream something, like it was just the PS4 is like infuriating if you're trying to like watch Netflix or something, because like it's not even like your most recently used apps or like the ones at the forefront. It just like spits out a new order of apps you have downloaded. And like I didn't even have like a login to Peacock, but like Peacock was always like the number one app, and like YouTube was like not on like the front page. So then I'd have to like load into my list of apps, which took like an additional like 25 seconds to load into. I'm like, this is stupid. I've never once watched Peacock on my PS4. I haven't downloaded it. Like, why is it like at the forefront of my streaming selection here? It makes no sense. And so stuff like that really started to get me down. The PlayStation 5 is such a dream compared to like having a launch PlayStation 4. That said, there are some things I really don't like about it. I think partying is like infuriating on PlayStation 5. I don't know what like there are parties that I created for friends, like with Zombie Army 4 months ago, that are technically still there. I'm like, why? I haven't played this game in months.
Also, take note that that's not just on PS5. That's how it's done on PS4 too.
Is it really?
Yes, that's how the party system. That's how the party system on PlayStation now works. It just changed shortly before the PS5 came out.
Okay.
And yeah, that's just straight up the PlayStation party system now.
That's so stupid. I don't know how to do it. Like, I have stopped using PlayStation parties and just started calling my friends, because that is like so much more clear to me. Like, we've all got AirPods. None of us, like, I have a headset. I don't think anyone else in my friend group besides you guys like has headsets to connect to PlayStation. It is just so complicated that we're like, screw it. We're gonna do this. I don't like a lot of the UI of the PlayStation 5. Like a year in, I'm still not like used to it, which is weird because I can't remember the last time I turned on my PlayStation 4, but it's just not intuitive to use. And like I still like game based, like what the hell is that? Like that feels like near for PlayStation 5.
Well, and there's just like parts of the UI that are like there that I feel like I never like have even experienced. Like I honestly still don't know how the card system works. Like I honestly don't know. And maybe I haven't messed with it enough, but I've like seen it there and I'm like, okay, I don't really know what I'm looking at. And then you have like the switcher or whatever that apparently does nothing. And there's just a lot of weird parts of the UI that don't really make sense to me.
Well, the switcher is supposed to let you like quickly move between apps, right? But like
guess.
every time I select it, like I have to press more buttons. So like it's the same amount of steps for me using the switcher or not using the switcher to go from YouTube to Hulu, or like from Hulu to a game. Like,
I've seen some people theorize that the switcher is basically so what's that Xbox quick resume?
Quick resume, yeah.
Is that's like the switcher is a precursor to the quick resume type thing coming eventually? Which would be great, don't get me wrong, but
I think you're probably right, and I've heard that too, but it's like, man, why even have it there if it's not
it's not ready?
Like you can't yeah.
And it's hard to be like too frustrated because like these are strange times that we're in, where it's like we're sitting here complaining about how effective a new video game console is when like there's a global pandemic. Like there's so much bigger fish to fry. So like I totally understand. It's like, yeah, this stuff isn't really like we're trying to be like nice to our staff who are going through things. So like that's why a bunch of like the features are half baked for now. And so I get that. And it's like none of this is like really too big of a deal. But it is just kind of like Austin just said, where it's just like, why is this here then if it's not done? Which I think is like a great point. You think about everything that was like added to the PlayStation 3, that like wasn't there when like you first turned on the PlayStation 3 back in 2006, 2007, whenever it came out. And like they just started building off what was there. Whereas like everything is like already here. It's just like, it's like going to a mall and seeing a bunch of closed stores. It feels like, where it's like, I don't know if this is really a mall anymore if all these things aren't open to the public. That said, I really like what I use my PlayStation 5 for. I like how great it is at streaming. I like how quick it goes from like me popping a trophy to like jumping in to look at the trophy list to like tracking other trophies. One thing that is really confusing still is there's only like trophy tracking for certain things. And so like I'm playing Guardians and it's like one of the one of the trophies is to buy an upgrade for each of the Guardians. And so that has like, you have to buy at least one upgrade for all of the Guardians. And so there's like a X out of 4 on like the trophy list. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like it lets me know how far or how close I am to getting that trophy. But there are so many other trophies where it's like a number like that, and like there's no number. I'm like, okay, but like, why isn't it there for all the trophies that involve stats? And so like that little inconsistency is like another thing where like, oh, I'm sure that'll get smoothed out as we go, but it's just little things like that.
Just a complete side note on that whole like trophy tracking thing. My absolute favorite is the PS5 version of Final Fantasy XIV. For the trophies that are main quests, it has some random number next to it, like in the thousands. Let me find it.
I'm very familiar. Yeah, it's like 1200.
Well,
and it also it talks about like your progress towards like getting to like complete this level. And it's like, all right, I'm 80 levels away, like 80 missions away from doing that. So I'm 2% done with this mission, I guess, technically.
A Requiem for Heroes Part 2. So it's literally just beat this main story quest. I have done 20,050 out of 26,070. What does that mean? I don't think I've done 20,000 quests in this game. What does that mean?
Just another reason why that game is not very good. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, complete the main scenario quest, Emissary of the Dawn. I'm 20,050 out of 24,060.
Hey man, you're almost there.
What does it mean?
Well, I'm enjoying next gen or current gen, whatever you want to call it, a lot so far. I think, when both the systems first dropped, I was going to hold off for a while. I was going to hold off, actually, I think, to buy any of them until this fall. And of course, now I already have both.
The only one of us to have both?
Yeah, actually, which is surprising because I was the one that said I wasn't going to buy either of them. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've had my PS5 since January, and I want to say I got my Series X in June-ish.
That sounds right.
Maybe July.
Yeah, I think it was like shortly after E3.
Yeah. And so I honestly love both. I think there was a period of time over the summer where I was kind of down on my PS5, and I think what I've realized over time is that they're a new generation of systems, but they're also just a logical step up from what came before. And so while, yes, neither of them really have, I would say at least, like amazing, awesome exclusives yet. I mean, aside from like Ratchet and Clank on PS5 was great. And of course Demon's Souls, but Series X really doesn't have any exclusives because most of their games are Flight Sim, I guess. Most of their games are still on Xbox One and PC, and that's fine. But I think at the end of the day, what I'm realizing is these systems work so well in my mind because, like you said, Elijah, they're a natural step up where you can still play the same games, but in a much better way and in a faster way with the loading, with a better frame rate or whatever it may be. And um, I think to me that's why I'm enjoying both systems like thoroughly at the moment, and even without those crazy, Uncharted 4 or Last of Us style exclusives on either system yet.
Also, one thing to keep in mind is the whole backwards compatible to a new gen wasn't
Yeah,
a thing before the system. Even
no,
Xbox, who's like the pinnacle of backwards compatibility, that wasn't a thing when the Xbox One came out. So
right,
when the Xbox One, PS4 came out, PS2 to PS3, 360, etc., it was always the new games played on the new system.
right,
And it was a complete kind of like how the PS5 is, where it's a separate version, but now you're getting a like free copy upgrade one. There would be some games that were like the back one, but because of this backwards compatibility, like I'm shocked that we got PS5 versions of like Fatal Frame and Alan Wake. I'm shocked that we got these because we don't
right.
need to. The PS4 one you can just pop in and play. Gran Turismo 6 came out in December after the PS4 came out. You needed a PS3 to play that game.
Yep.
That's why, like, if they would have come out with a PS4 version, I would have understood it more, and I understand the specific, this game is on this console, this game is on this one. But
Right.
that's not so much a thing anymore. So this is kind of a newer thing that's getting started, and that's why, oh, even us, we weren't sure exactly how to react to it. We was like, if I can still play this game on my PS4, why would I get a PS5?
Right.
But it's the same thing as it always has been. It's just now we can use the new console to play the old stuff as well.
Right. Well, and I think the thing is, I mean, it's exactly what you said, except it also works in the reverse of, if you have the money, if you have the disposable income, if you can play it on PS5, why play it on PS4?
Yeah.
I think it works both ways. And so I think the interesting thing about this gen is you kind of have to look at it in a different light because yes, when PS4 came out, the lineup of games on that system for the first year was just abysmal. Like there just really was nothing, I would say at least.
The first 9/10 of Killzone and the multiplayer, great.
Yeah, okay.
No, we're gonna talk about that at the end of the podcast. Don't worry.
But really, there was like, there were a couple exclusives for a year and a half, and it was just bad. I mean, that's the truth. And so I think that looking at this now, though, I don't think you necessarily have to focus on exclusives as much because I think we're getting a lot more native PS5 and Series X games that, last gen we wouldn't have got because like you said, Elijah, like Gran Turismo 6 when that came out, I mean, that was not even playable.
No.
On PS4. And so I think it's interesting. I mean, I still wish there were more exclusives on both systems for sure, but I think we're getting there. I think, we've got some big stuff.
I didn't care about exclusives necessarily. Like, I'm not sitting here like mad that Horizon got pushed back or anything like that. For me, I want to say that like, because like for every other console, like I just wish there was like more stuff that took advantage of the hardware that it's on. But like, I don't know, man. Like, there was a whole bunch of PS4 games I never got around to playing, and like now they play better than ever on my PS5. So it's like okay, so like there are games that like I've never was able to play that have been enhanced. Like that's a win, right? Like that's a good thing. I've also noticed that like they're following. I feel like a lot more PS5 games are going on sale sooner than PS4 games were when they first started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I saw Returnal was like $35 or $40 already the other day, which is pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, Deathloop's $40 now.
Yep.
I don't know if that's like a permanent drop or what. But like it feels very much like Super Nintendo to Nintendo, where it's like, okay, here's like everything the last thing could do, just dialed up.
Yeah.
Which honestly is great because I never finished Horizon, I never finished God of War, I never finished Jedi Fallen Order. So it's nice to like get new opportunities to play these games again.
Mainly, when I've had a couple people ask me, do I need to get a PS5? And my first response will always be, you don't need to. But how often do you play your console? If you play it once a week, maybe you don't need to. But if you're, like I said, if you're like me, I play my PlayStation every day. Yeah, you're going to see a major upgrade just in the way you play.
All right, follow-up question. If your PlayStation 4 is on its last legs, would you recommend someone gets a PlayStation 4? Let's say they could get one for $200. Or would you say it's worth the hassle to track down a PS5? Because
Honestly, at that point, I'd say it's worth the hassle because you're paying $200 just to eventually buy a PS5 down the road anyhow. Because while we're saying the exclusives aren't here yet, we have seen E3 this year. I saw so many next gen, current gen, whatever gen we want to call this, exclusives on the horizon.
Yeah, literally.
Like, well, I mean, that's last gen too, Horizon.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, okay, for example, why am I blanking on the name, but the new Square Enix game that has been shown off, that's a PS5 timed exclusive.
Project Athia or whatever?
Yeah,
it was that.
Forspoken,
yeah.
PlayStation 5, this gen exclusive. There aren't many yet, but they are coming. So why spend the like $200 now just to half a year down the road be like, I should probably spend the money to get a PS5.
Also, it's pretty amazing because I remember like when PlayStation 3 360 came out, like the first like noticeable thing I saw was just like, wow, everything's like really shiny. You know, like that was like what stood out to me. I'm like, wow, look at the light reflecting off that water. Look at that, like that gun actually looks like it's made of metal in a way that like it never did, like on original Xbox or PlayStation 2. And like I remember smoke was like a big thing. And that's why like on Call of Duty 2, there was like the smoke grenades were like such a big deal. And it's really funny that those were like the holy crap moments of that generation. And now like we're at PlayStation 5 and even like with launch games, it's just like, yo, did you see each strap like move individually, like as that person like ran down the stairs where like it actually looked like real like tassels or something like on someone's backpack? It's like, oh yeah, like this is why video games are taking longer, because of smallest details.
And that's what I would always say when people would ask, like, what's the reason for this? And this was before they came out. What's the reason for this upcoming gen? And I say, to give you an example, it could be like an open world game that has 100 buildings and you can go into 3 of them. Now, this new game will still be those 100 buildings in that open world, so it won't look different there. But now you can go into 50 of them instead of 3. That's what this gen is about. It's not so much about like graphically being amazing, where it's all the little stuff is going to start showing better. And
well, that, and frankly, I think games are just better to play now. You know,
yes.
Like I can't stress how amazing the load times are.
Oh my god,
PS5.
I will never forget when a couple of us were playing The Division. And Austin and I were on PS5, and Alden still had his PS4, and he was playing with us. And Alden and I popped into the fast travel, and then we sat there waiting for Alden's fast travel and loading to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, it took him probably at least a minute, and it took Elijah and I like 5 seconds. So,
and while it may not seem like much, if you are playing, if like say you're playing Division for a while and you fast travel 10 times, it may not seem like much, but you just saved 10 minutes. Now, imagine doing that 10 times. You just saved over an hour of game time playing.
Yeah.
Like over however much time.
I do think it's a huge deal, and you know, I'll eat my words, because obviously I think it was right when PS5 and stuff was coming out. I had said on the podcast that I just didn't think it was a huge deal, and no, I was completely wrong. It is a huge deal to me now. You know, I typically have a couple hours in the morning before I go into work where, you know, Andy's already gone to work and I'm just here alone, and normally I just spend that time playing single player games or whatever it is. and but it's awesome because I'm able to, for example, when I've been playing Forza Horizon 4, and I'm sure this will carry over into 5, on the original Xbox, that game, good lord, to boot that game up, it took like 2 or 3 minutes at least to load in. And it's like instantaneous on Series X, and so it really gives me just an easier way for me to be like, okay, I'm going to play this game for 20, 30 minutes, and I actually feel like it's worth my time because I'm not sitting here loading for 7-8 minutes or whatever it is. So I no, I think the loading thing is a huge deal. I think it's much more impressive than I originally thought it would be.
It's one of those things. It is something you need to experience rather than just hear it, because it doesn't sound as impressive as it really is.
Right.
And I think that's the reason when I've tried to tell people the same thing, like, before it even came out. No, like, seriously, the loading is going to have an impact. And I've had so many people be like, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll be the difference you think it is. But then everyone's like, oh man, I don't know if I can go back to the old loading. I'm like, no,
So quick fire, because I know we've got one more topic we want to hit. What is one thing you want to see improved on either PS5 or Series X over the next year?
So, actually, I have one quick one for each. Series 5. Yeah, Series 5. Wow. Just combine them both. No, PS5, I would love to see something like the quick resume feature or something like that from Xbox, because I think that is so great, because there are so many times I'll be playing a game and it's like Saturday night, and every Saturday night I play Apex with 2 friends, and I'm like, okay, let me find a save spot. Let me get to a point I can save. When if it had the quick, boom, Apex, just pop it up quick, and then later, all right, I'll get to a save point tomorrow or whatever. That's the biggest one for PlayStation. And for Xbox, I want to see that UI just. I hate traversing the UI on the Xbox. I thought it would get better the more I use it. I bought Condemned, and it took me like 6 minutes to find the game in my library. It took me most of that time to find my library, because it changed since like the last time I'd been on. And I would just love to see the UI improved. Trying to find my achievements on the UI, I'm like, all right, now where do I go? Wait, I think it's over here. Nope. It's this different. Oh, okay, I think I found it now. I would love to see the UI change. That's my biggest one.
Cool. I would like to see, for PlayStation 5, I would like to see party improvement. Just because I'm not clear when I'm starting a party. It's not clear when I invite people to parties. It's not intuitive the way it should be. And it's just confusing because it was like easier to start one on PlayStation 3, and it was easier to start one off on Vita than it is on PlayStation 5, and I don't think there's any excuse for that. For Series X, I think the biggest improvement would be getting more backwards compatible games. That's all I care. I don't have an Xbox, so I don't know what it's not doing.
No,
well,
but that is a good one though.
Really?
Because their 360 selection and even their original Xbox selection is pretty limited still. I mean, there's a decent amount on there, but there's a lot of lesser known titles that aren't available yet. I mean, yeah, I'd agree with you, Elijah. I think quick resume on PS5 would be awesome. I still want to see some improvements for their external hard drive stuff, because it's still not there. I have one plugged in and I have had it crash on me, and so that is a real problem. And if you don't know about that, I encourage you to look up external hard drive issues on PS5.
I had an external hooked up to my PS5, and then I had to factory reset the PS5, so I don't have an external hooked up to it anymore.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that.
I lost all my Mass Effect save data.
Oh, yikes.
I am not amused.
That sucks.
Buddy.
And honestly, on Xbox, I mean, I think I'd agree with you, Elijah, as far as the UI, but it's not so much that I don't find the UI confusing. I think my issue with what they've done in the past is that they have taken the UI like every year or two and just completely changed it. And I think they need to take what they have and expand on it and not just rework the UI constantly and constantly. And so I'm hoping they do that this time around.
Just give us back the blades and it'll all go fine.
Yeah. Can I add one for PlayStation 5?
Yes, please do.
I want them to celebrate game releases more. I feel like they do such a good job of showing up for AAA, but I would love them to like just have like a little campaign, like a marketing campaign around smaller releases. I would love for there to be excitement. I would love for some of them to debut on PlayStation Now, because like we talked about this before, but like I think PlayStation Now could absolutely compete with Game Pass. The problem is they just never talk about PlayStation Now, and it's like the only time I ever see it in the news is like when an outlet reports on new games coming. I'm like, why isn't this like a Sony message? Like, why is this from GameSpot? Why is this from IGN or Games Radar, whichever site I'm using? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I want like a 12 minutes-esque game to like debut on PlayStation Now. I think that would really drum up excitement, and I just want them to celebrate those games a little more.
That's why I actually think it's amazing that it's not right on release, but in December we're getting GTA San Andreas on PlayStation Now, just a month after it comes out.
That's awesome. That's huge. But like, do stuff like that.
Exactly. And it's like, it's not on release, but still, that's not something that happens to PlayStation Now. Like you said, why aren't they talking about it more?
Aren't they getting 3 on PlayStation Now?
No.
It's
so
3 on Xbox, right?
It's either 3 on Game Pass and San Andreas on PlayStation Now, or it's 3 on PlayStation Now, San Andreas on Game Pass. I forget which.
I think it's San Andreas, because I remember being like, oh, they got the better one for once.
But like, why isn't that a thing that they're out there like, hey, look what we got? Why? Meanwhile, Game Pass is out there, yo, look what we got.
Well, it's the same thing about like them, like, you know, really hamming up like smart delivery, and it's just like, dude, like, you can't brag about this. Like, this should be the expectation, not like the innovation.
Yeah.
And then like Sony just completely screwed that up. I was playing like the PS4 versions of Sackboy and Call of Duty last year, and it's just like, oh, okay, kudos Xbox. Like, maybe this is something to drum up.
Now it did get better. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
it's still not the best, but it did get better to the point where like the PS4 and PS5 versions are separate like titles on the console now. Like I had 2 Alan Wakes right next to each other, and then if you hover over one in big black, it would say PS5, or in big white PS4. Like they're getting somewhere
there.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's great, but I'm happy for the improvements. As a trophy hunter, I'm more than okay with it still being separate games.
Oh, and thank God, by the way, before we move off this topic, this is the last thing I want to say. Thank God they changed that stupid trophy layout in the UI, because it was awful scrolling horizontally, and they finally changed it. And that would have been the thing I want to change the most. And so
it's not even that much better now. It's not even that much better now, because like there's still the same amount of trophies on screen as when it was like horizontal, but like it just feels right in a way that like going horizontal never felt. So like there's technically the same amount of information, but it's like, oh no, like, dude, we gotta go up and down for this. We cannot go left or right. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's not the best. It is definitely better, but it's still, I still use the app more than I care to admit for trophies.
So there are thoughts on the PS5 and Series X/S a year after launch.
Yeah, I have a Series S. I absolutely love it. I'll say that.
Let us know what you all think. Write in, leave us your comments about the PS5 and Series X and S, and we'll be sure to read them. So, George, why don't we wrap it up with what I'm understanding is going to be a reoccurring segment.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to put more frame skip seal of approvals on things. And so we're going to do a segment I'm tentatively calling Best of the Best, but we're going to start giving out awards from Frameskip. And specifically what Best of the Best is doing is we're looking at big video game franchises, and we are picking the best title in the franchise. So, for example, let's start things off. We're going to do 5 games a week. We're going to do this for as long as we can keep going. But first up to bat, Call of Duty. What is the best Call of Duty game? I think there's 2 real contenders.
You know, so I will put an asterisk. I'll put one of those things next to my answer because I really don't do Call of Duty multiplayer. So I don't have much experience. I used to, but I even don't remember. I don't have much experience. So I'm going purely off of campaign.
Okay, that's fine.
And I think
we're gonna get through this. We're gonna argue this, and then we're gonna decide together which like the frame skip official best in franchise is.
I think I've got to give mine to Modern Warfare, the new one.
Like the okay, Modern Warfare 2018, 2019, whichever 19, one that is. Yeah.
Campaign blew me away. I haven't felt anything like that for a Call of Duty in a while. I was all smiles, and then like the after credit scene had me going like, no way! Like I was freaking out, and I'm like, I'm doing this over a Call of Duty game. What is going on?
Oh man, that's a great answer. I honestly, when I said I think there's 2 contenders, I was not even thinking about that one. Austin, do you have any? You want to throw in the ring?
The problem is I haven't played any since Black Ops 3, so I'm a little behind on Call of Duty as far as the new titles go. But I mean, I honestly, maybe I'm a little biased just because this was always, I don't know, I had a ton of fun with this game. But Black Ops 1, I still think is near perfect for a kind of fun Call of Duty shooter. And the campaign in that game was so unique. Just kind of dealing with like brainwashing and like weird things that up to that point, of course, hadn't really been dealt with. And so I think Black Ops 1 would be my choice.
The numbers, Mason.
Man, we all have different answers. I was thinking either Modern Warfare 2, because that was the one that came out when I was a sophomore in college, and that just like took over everyone's life. And then my dark horse one was Advanced Warfare. I loved Advanced Warfare. That multiplayer was incredible. It was so fast. It was so good.
Advanced Warfare was great, yeah.
Plus it had Troy Baker.
Yeah. So sorry, Austin, what was yours? Black Ops 1?
Yeah.
I don't know, Elijah. That one was pretty good.
Black Ops 1 is fantastic. Like, I love Modern Warfare, but I think Black Ops 1 was my third, so I would be more than willing to like kind of concede that one, because Austin even includes the whole package with like multiplayer and stuff too. And
oh my god! Well, that was the first one where you could have like a remote control car, right?
Yeah.
I think yeah. Okay, yeah, that was pretty special. Yeah, I'm willing to cancel mine out, and I think Black Ops might have this one.
I do want to give a shout out to my runner-up, which is Infinite Warfare.
I still need to play that game.
Fantastic.
It was so good.
That campaign is like legit top 5 best Call of Duty campaigns all time.
Yeah, it was so good, and that's the only reason it beat out Black Ops 1 for me. I love the campaign in it. Man,
all right.
Black Ops 1 so good.
I have like nothing to say for this next game series, but what is the best Persona game?
5.
I have to say 4.
I thought you were going to say Dancing All Night.
Yo, Dancing All Night so good though. But
okay,
I have to go with 4 Golden. Absolutely love the story. I love the premise. I love like the whole going into a TV world and then coming out to like the murders being in some TV fashion. I loved it. Like the high school aspect was neat just because honestly it did kind of remind me of being in high school again. But like the good parts of high school.
Yeah, like when you and your friends got sucked into TVs and had to solve midnight murders.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly like high school.
Yeah, your friend was like a giant teddy bear. Yeah, I remember that too.
Just a side note, I have my Left 4 Dead 2 modded, and the tank is Teddy.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think we're going to be deadlocked on this one, George, because I love 4, but 5 to me is a perfect video game. And
I do.
All right,
I
I'll
do
tell you
need to
what.
play
I'll tell you
5
what.
Royal.
I've played 10 hours of Persona 4. I didn't care for it very much. I've recently installed 5 on my PlayStation 5. I'm going to put some hours into that, and I'll be the deciding vote next week.
Please play it.
Now,
I mean,
did
but
you
either
install
way,
5 or 5 Royal?
5 because that was on the PlayStation Plus collection.
5 and 5 Royal are strangely vastly different.
Yeah,
that's what I hear. But also, in that case, like 4 and Golden are vastly different too, right?
Also, a little bit. There's like a new character, I guess, and not as much as Royal.
4 to 4 Golden. 4 to 4 Golden was more content. 5 to 5 Royal like changed gameplay up in ways.
Yeah,
that's weird.
But 5 Royal is the one to play. Yeah. So,
plus, 5 Royal has an easier trophy list.
It does.
Ooh, I do like that.
It's very easy to platinum.
I'll come back. We'll come back to Persona. We might have to kick it like 2 weeks, but we'll come back to it eventually. What is the best Halo game?
I have to say, hands down, I've got to give it to Reach.
Reach is my answer too.
Okay,
Reach is the best. Reach is the best campaign. I can totally see an argument for. I didn't have internet, so I couldn't do Halo 2 multiplayer when it like first launched.
Right.
Like I wasn't on the original Xbox Live. Halo 3 was like incredible. And like ODST multiplayer, like that horde mode in college was like all we did with Halo.
I played a ton of Halo 3 multiplayer. I'll always remember Halo 2 multiplayer for that time I played with an Xbox Live account that was simply named Is Gone Rain. And I remember that to this day.
So Reach is actually the only one that I've never beaten.
Oh my god, it's the best
not because I don't want to. I just So I need to change that, and I've been thinking about playing through it before Infinite, which I need to do. So
I'll co-op with you. I seriously don't mind.
We should just play it. Is what we should do. But yeah, I mean, if you guys both choose Reach, then I think that's the one. But I think my answer would probably be 1, just because I adore that game, and I think the stuff that it sets up is fantastic. But no, I think Reach should be the one because you guys outnumber me. So
okay. Next series. What is the best Telltale game?
So
I understand it's a bunch of different franchises, but like it was a Telltale series was like the connective tissue between all of them, and they all played roughly the same. So I'm counting it as one giant franchise, that genre.
So I didn't play too many of them, but there is one that really stuck out to me, and that's Telltale Borderlands.
Okay.
Or I should say Tales from the Borderlands. They did so much with the characters in that game, and like, I like Borderlands, but I normally don't care about the characters other than this is a fun one to use, or they say funny stuff. In Tales from the Borderlands, they made me actually like care about some of these characters. And for those who have played it, the finger gun fight is one of my all-time favorite moments in video games.
Yeah, that game is really funny.
Also, there's a Cowboy Bebop reference if you choose the right things.
That entire thing is a Cowboy Bebop reference. What are you talking about? That entire game is.
There's a specific thing that happens, and you can choose what to put on a like casket out in space. And one of the things you can have it say is "See you, Space Cowboy," which is what it says at the end of every episode of Cowboy Bebop. And then in the next episode of the game, you mention it, and somebody goes, "Oh, it sounds like some anime kind of thing."
That's a hard one for me, George, because I've really only played Walking Dead season 1 and Guardians. I honestly haven't really played any other Telltale games, although I have heard a lot of good things about Batman.
So those are actually my top 3.
Yeah.
Are Batman, Tales from the Borderlands, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. I have all of them. I just need to play them.
I mean, I think of the two I've played, I would put Guardians above Walking Dead Season 1. But again, I know that's like kind of an uncommon choice because I haven't really...
Walking Dead Season 1, for me, it's kind of like the Beatles, where it's like, I understand everything you did determined what would come after you. I just think the stuff you did after was way more interesting than the stuff you did first.
Right.
Like, if that makes sense, where it's like, yeah, Beatles are great, but like, I care way more about like Led Zeppelin than I ever did the Beatles.
Right.
And like, another thing is, yeah, that stuff is awesome. And at the time, it hadn't been seen as much. But looking at it now, we see that kind of stuff all the time. So if you look back at the game and be like, okay, but what did the game do to set itself apart from these other games?
I think Tales of the Borderlands is the apex of what they were trying to do. Batman, I think, comes really, really close. Guardians was like the start of them. Guardians was like the start of them. Like, it seemed like they were kind of dropping the ball because Tales from the Borderlands came out before Guardians.
Yes.
And then Batman came out after that. So Batman was like a return to form, but I still think no game hit the heights that Tales from the Borderlands did. Especially because that was like a franchise where it's like, man, I beat the original Borderlands 6 times. I could not tell you what the story was. There was a vault and like a giant Cthulhu-esque monster. Besides that, like, I got nothing. But like, that story was like gripping.
Yeah. When I played Tales from the Borderlands, I was kind of out on Telltale games just because I like what Telltale tries to do, but I kind of get bored playing their games.
Yeah.
Tales from the Borderlands kept me hooked. I played like the entire thing the same day because I just could not stop playing.
It took me months to get the platinum in Game of Thrones because I thought that game was so boring. Like, I thought that game was like,
oh my god, I forgot I played that. The one thing
that was a bad game. I wanted to play Tales from the Borderlands.
The one thing I will give to the Game of Thrones one, the song that sang at the end of episode 2, I have downloaded and keep in the car.
All right. That is something. Final game for the inaugural episode of Best of the Best. What is the best 3D Mario game?
Oh boy.
Frameskip can recommend one 3D Mario game to people. What's it gotta be?
I may as well abstain because I know my answer is never going to be the choice, but it is my favorite one.
Is it Sunshine?
Super Mario Sunshine.
Sunshine is good.
I adore that game.
Sunshine is really good.
But also, I acknowledge I have never played Galaxy or Odyssey.
Boy.
I think it's either got to be, because like, I really want to count the 3DS game, but like, that's not really a 3D game. That's like a 2.5.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Does 3D World count?
That's the Wii one, or the Wii U one, right? Where it's like with the cat suit.
No, the Switch one, yeah.
I don't.
Because if that was in the running, I would put that as number 1. But I think you're right. I don't think it necessarily counts because it's more like a spin-off type title, I would say.
Yeah. I think it's got to be Galaxy, and like, I personally think Galaxy 1 is better than Galaxy 2.
No, you're right, and I don't know. What do you come down on Odyssey, George? Because I thought it was overrated. I didn't think it was a 10 out of 10 video game like the rest of the world.
I thought it was incredible. Like, I really, really, really enjoyed that game, but like, the first time I played Mario Galaxy, I beat it in one sitting. Right. Like, I started it at like 10 p.m. and like played it until 5 in the morning and like beat it. You know, like that game is like the only non-Halo game I've done that with. Like, that game's just incredibly special. And like, I was so overwhelmed like a month into the pandemic, I played it again from like start to finish, and then I played 2 from start to finish just last year. So like, they're still very, very fresh.
So I've never beaten 2, which I need to go back and do at some point, but I have played a considerable amount of it. But no, I would put Galaxy 1 above 2, and honestly, my ranking would probably be Galaxy, Sunshine, and then maybe Galaxy 2 and Odyssey. So I mean, I adore Sunshine. I just don't think I could put it above Galaxy.
Well, that, and I don't know how anyone's supposed to play Sunshine now, right? Because 3D All Stars is no longer available.
It's true.
You know,
it's been destroyed.
It's funny you
not
say
that. Not that it's easier to play Galaxy. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because you can still find copies of it at Walmart.
I was going to say my Best Buy has a ton of them still.
Oh yeah, here too. I wonder if that was mostly done to screw over retailers, right? Like, oh, limited supply, get it now.
So yeah, limited in quantities of 100 million copies.
Right, we're going with Galaxy then.
I think so.
All right. In that case, like the final 5th game, we're going to come back to Persona. Last thing, and then I promise we'll leave. Let's just get this shooter out of the way. Killzone. What is the best Killzone game?
Okay, Elijah, you better get it right.
As someone who has gotten the Platinum Trophy on Killzone 3, the correct answer is Killzone Mercenary for the PlayStation.
Yes!
That was my answer too.
Thank God. Thank God we all agreed on something.
Like, that game, first off, it brought the promise of like PlayStation 3 console quality and looking games to the Vita. That game looks outstanding.
It still looks really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic looking still.
Also, it did the greatest thing a game has ever done, where it released a bot mode that you could buy for $2. And so you can still play multiplayer. It's incredible. It's fantastic.
Like, while I love when things release free stuff, I also understand it took them time to like program and develop the AI for the bots. So I'm like, I get it. I'll give you some money for it.
Also, if you're going to charge that $2, it turns out is actually like a great price for it. So thank you.
Yeah.
But then also, like, just the multiplayer is super fun. The missions are so fun to like replay because they're not super long.
That, and they encourage you to play in like all these different play styles, at least for trophies, where like here's like the assassin run through where like you try to go as stealthy as possible. Here's the demolition where you just try to blow up and cause as much mayhem. It really like rewards you for trying different things, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that game is amazing. I think my runner-up actually, and I know it's brought down by that ending, but except for that ending, everything else about Killzone Shadowfall was so good.
Oh no, I was gonna go Killzone 2.
I think I'm just mad at Killzone 2 because of the trophies, and I'll be honest about that.
Killzone 2 is the first, like, I downloaded a demo in my dorm room. I thought it was the prettiest game I'd ever seen in my entire life. I didn't even finish the demo. I, like, turned my PlayStation off, and I immediately, like, walked a mile downtown to the nearest GameStop and, like, bought a copy of Killzone 2 and then walked back and just started the game.
Killzone 2 was what had me saying, man, I really want a PlayStation 3. Killzone 3, when that was releasing, is what had me going, I'm buying a PlayStation 3. And this was when I was a hardcore 360 gamer. I'm like, I need Killzone 3 and MotorStorm.
Killzone 2 and 3 were both fantastic, but I still don't think anything holds a candle to Mercenary. I mean, that was the game that I was like, that was the first Killzone game for me, at least, that I just got so sucked into. And just talking about it makes me want to go back and play it again.
Yeah, you know how they did like Far Cry 3 Classic?
Yeah.
Right.
If they did like Killzone Mercenary Classic on PlayStation 5 for like $15, you guys would buy it again, right?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat.
In like a heartbeat. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Cool. All right. Sorry that went so long, but that is best of the best. I'm so excited. I've got a list of so many franchises. And we're going to go through and we're going to give it the old frame skip seal of approval.
Find out next time what the best Naughty Bear game is.
Oh, no.
It's Naughty Bear 1.
It is 1.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. Write in your responses to those games. We'd love to hear that as well. Of course, you can do that on our social media pages. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at frameskippod, and then on Facebook at facebook.com/frameskippod. We're all on Twitter as individuals. Elijah is at Loco Lizardman. George is at PurpleBird616. I am at Austin J. Eller, and then, of course, we also have Coach, who just happens to be using the Frameskip Pod Twitter as well, so he is also there. So you can send in questions there. You can also send them in at our bit.ly link, bit.ly/frameskipq. Of course, you can
Also,
find that in the description.
Don't forget, you can find me on Twitch at Loker Lizardman. To give you an idea, the weekend this comes out, I'm going to be honest, it's probably going to be Forza Horizon 5 all weekend. Just
Oh man,
all weekend.
Cannot wait to play that game. And,
also, what's our YouTube channel? Because I am going to start streaming from there. I just ordered an Elgato, and I'm so excited to hook it up and start playing.
It should be just Frameskip, I believe, is the channel. But of course, if you're listening to this on iTunes or whatever, I guess it's not iTunes anymore, Apple Podcasts, all that info is in the description for the video. So go look that up and subscribe.
Tight.
Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week. Until then, see ya.
Smooch.
Bye.
Caca.